Right, I'm going to start a new project this week, which is drawing and painting animals. So, though it's the last week of May, I thought it would give us 4 weeks if anybody wants to tackle this particular one. So there's 1 week in June when I'm not here. We've got Denise starting. Yep, Denise with us today, so so I thought I'd start off with a drawing demonstration just for a few minutes for anybody that finds that useful. Just wondering if I could. So that was the one I did this morning. Just trying to think if I could draw something else, because that was this morning's demo, and I did some other sort of stuff. Find a dog one earlier in the week. Maybe that one. Let's do the squirrel. No, but actually I'll do a bird. Right, okay, I'll do this. Right, so I'm just going to draw this bit. So with drawing, there's a couple of different approaches, and the way I tend to work is I kind of rough out from the outside in. So I might just get a rough shape to start with. So I'm thinking the top of the head's perhaps about there, and then the bill about there. So I tend to start out quite lightly, but not too definite. So I'm just using this orange pencil, and this is more just a general guide. But once I've got that established, I then tend to work from the middle of things and just work out. So I'm kind of working from the inside outwards. And I tend to do this quite a bit. Just trying to find a sketchbook. Oh yes. So I've got a few sketches here of my wife's dog. So things like this, I tend to sort of maybe start with an eye, and then I'll maybe go over a little bit here, and then maybe work to the edge, go to the other eye. So it's what a kind of inside out way of working. And I find that if I draw it that way, it's a lot easier to get things accurate in terms of the shapes and the measurements. So in this instance, I've picked this one because it's like a side view. And in a way, that's a bit more straightforward than if we're seeing like a 3/4 face or something like that. So I'll start with the eye, and I'm thinking that it's not quite in the middle of the head, but it's just towards the front. So I'm starting here. So I'll start with that shape, and in this case, it's not actually a circle. It's more than an ellipse, really, elliptical shape, something a bit like that. And then once I've got that, I can then think, well, how much space? Well, there's a little bit of a crease there. I can think how much space to the top of the head. I'll say about that much. And then perhaps work forward through these markings. So that would kind of come across here. And that could come along and join that. And then working my way down from here. Yeah, that comes across and then down here. And this, I can kind of see that as a shape, so where this little bit of orange, where the bill is, let's start about there. And then looking at where the mouth would be, or the bill would be. So I've got this kind of angle here. I'm just looking at how much space there is between the eye and that shape. So I think about there, actually. That's curling under about here. And then I'll come back here and work my way down. Got a little round shape, and then this rounded part here. And and then perhaps work around this shape here. Now, that curls over a little bit at the end. And then the underside is a little bit difficult to see because there's this other bird behind it. I think it's in about there. So, and then from here, that goes to there. And then working backwards, what I can do is compare this proportion, sort of from here to the eye, and compare that to the back of the head. So I can just really do that on there, measure with my pencil, and compare that, and that's about the same sort of space. So I know that the back of the head needs to be about that far. So actually just a little bit further than where I thought it would be. But that's why I tend to work quite lightly or a different colour, and then I've got room to adjust it and make adjustments as I go. So it's then a matter of just following the contour of that edge and that shape, and that down. And the other thing is it's quite often useful, like there's a slight shadow there, and then there's a little bit of a round, quite a subtle shape there. So, and again, there's another sort of shadow area. So breaking those shapes down. So rather than just follow the profile, bird, trying to see some of the structure within the head. And I find that if I follow those things, almost like the subtle shapes in the middle, rather than worrying about these bits, I stand a better chance of getting the overall shape right. So that would be that one. This other shadow shapes to about here. And then there's a slight dip to there. Let's not bring this round. But just check that against something, maybe again against the bill. So that's about the same. So that actually feels like it needs to go a bit wider. Let's just check that. Yeah. So I think actually I need to come further out, probably about there. And follow that down, like that. So that's how I kind of go about drawing something where I've got a profile. And start in the middle and just work my way through the shapes. If it was something like this, it's going to be a bit more complicated, but I'll just do it very quick go, or just make a start on that one. Hello. We'll do one on the back. I'll do it on the back. Right. So with something like that, with the squirrel, I tend to, again, I start with the face, start with the head. I could do the same sort of thing, just rough out the whole of the shape. It's hard to see where the tail goes exactly, but thinking the ears about there. So if I wanted to put the head there, and then that should give me enough space to fit the whole squirrel. I think that would fit that area. So that's the general guide, just generally working the big shapes out. And then once I'm there, I think there's a little bit of an angle going that way through the squirrel's head, and the eyes are definitely a little bit of an angle. So I find just popping a guideline through the centre of the skull and through the eye level is helpful. And then I would just do the same, start perhaps with this eye, which I'm guessing is about there, slightly rounded there. And then I'm looking at how much space between the eyes. And if I measure the width of one of those eyes, I'm guessing that width would fit in perhaps about 6 times. And you could physically measure that with something if you wanted to, maybe at the end of your pencil. But I'm just going to do a visual guess at that. So that would be about here. And then once I've got that, it's then looking at how much space there is from the eyes down to the nose level. And just put my pencil there, I'd say it's just over the depth of the eye, perhaps an eye and a half. I'm thinking about there for that lower part where the nose would be. I can draw that shape in. There's a little bit of shadow there, and then I think the mouth, something like that. And again, looking at other shapes here, you can perhaps put this shape, there's like a dark shadow shape there. So actually physically drawing that shape might be handy. That actually would come round to there. And again here, a little bit of light on that part of the nose, and then a bit of shadow just under there. And then from there, looking at how much space to the top of the head. Basically just trying to compare. It's kind of about there, I would say. It's not quite as much space as there is between the eye and the nose. Perhaps about the same amount as the bottom of the eye to the nose. Let's try that. That's going to come up to about here. Looking at the ears and how those would line up with the eyes. So I think on that side, yeah, it's more or less like that. Up there. Again, checking the size against the eyes. I think it's quite a bit bigger than the eyes, so about there. On this side, if I put my pencil at that sort of angle, that's about where the other ear is going to start. Think about there. And then, that might be a bit too close actually. I think that's got to come in a bit. Sorry, a bit too far. Now I think it's a little bit closer in. So just looking at this space now, and then that comes out here. So that's kind of got the most main bits of the face in. What I then tend to do is have a look at the space between the mouth and the hands or the paws, and just try and have a look at where they are in relation to these. And I find with hands, and it's really just exactly the same way as I would draw a person, I sometimes find that relationship between the face and the hands quite useful to get in fairly. So I'm thinking this hand comes about over to here, roughly in line with the face. And I'm really just trying to draw almost like a whole glove shape, or almost like a mitten shape that would close that. And then once I've got that, I can then see that the shoulder starts more or less where the eye is. Work my way around there. This other paw is a little bit further down. There, and then I can then just divide that up later. That just curls over the top there. I've got the branch. And then we just keep going down and up and out from there. So that's basically the way I would go about drawing animals. I think sometimes it's a little bit counterintuitive. Sometimes we think we've got to get all the outlines in before we can work in the middle. But in some ways, I've always found it easier to start with small things and then work my way out. And that way I can then start with that, see how much space there is between here and here, and then outwards. Is that any good? That help?
Wonderful.
Hopefully it helped.
Great.
Has anybody got any questions on it?
It looks so different when you get the eyes in first, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You can see where it's going.
And it's probably a bit distorted because I'm drawing it from the side. But, yeah.
Would you use the same approach with a portrait?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I just always find that much easier. Yeah. So yeah, when I sketch people, I pretty much always start with the eyes. I think the other thing is a lot of my sketches are, I start with a line drawing, just like a pen. So because with pens you can't really change it, it's down. So it's just sort of being really decisive about where you put the marks and the lines. Yeah, I've always found it much easier to start with little details and then just work outwards. You do have to kind of be aware of this sort of underlying structure behind things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely find it easier to get proportions that way. Okay, right, okay. That's good. So yeah, I have got some photos here. They're over here actually. If you want to choose any of these, and I've got some more there.